gathering data is different than observing spatial relationships. It's done in a different part of the brain. It's described in a different part of the book. It's done, one takes time, one is instant. And so we know that those two things exist, and we do know that they compete for our time, right? Is there any, I mean, then they have to be identified as elements, because one without the other, and you can't exist as an air traffic controller. Is that agreeable?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing links those two things together, and that is that you comprehend and process the data. The scan comprehends and processes the data. The data being data gathering and observing spatial relationships. That's what we would be able to call trajectory analysis. Trying to figure out whether guys are traffic for each other, trying to figure out what we're going to do with the airplanes. So we comprehend and process and do something with the data. How I know that we have to have that is very relational to what we talked about when we read the book. If you turned the page and couldn't remember, you didn't comprehend and process what you just read. So therefore, you had no chance of storing it in your short-term memory. So you have to make as an element remembering the data. Now, what you do with it is a consequence of what the task was, right? So if I was gathering speed information of an airplane, it could be for separation. It could be for sequencing. It could be for some subordinate task. It could be, hey, I thought this guy was a 737, and he's doing 220 knots, and he ends up being a King Air. So that's what we call cognitive dissonance, where things don't match up. So, but the point is that remembering the data is the product of comprehending and processing the data. So you see how we're building this, gathering the data, and you observe the spatial relationships, those two things in concert with each other, then allows us to comprehend and process what we're looking at. So I got to do something with it. I understand it, I know it, I understand it. That causes me to remember.